We live in a grief-illiterate society, and I believe that we must learn and remember how to grieve in a good, embodied, integrated, graceful, and mature way. Why? Because if we do not learn how to grieve in that good way, our lives will be void. Our lives will be numbed down. How many people on this planet will eventually experience grief within their lives? I can lift my hands up tenfold, 20-fold, because my life has been filled with so much grief ever since that I was a child, and I've never really fully learned within my environment how to navigate grief, what grief is, what I can expect from this feeling, how to navigate through these feelings, intense, painful feelings that arise when a loved one dies, when a loved one is diagnosed with some sort of disease, when we lose something or someone within our lives. It all activates the sensation of grief. I believe that if we cannot figure out how to grieve in a good way, we will never be able to experience that full body ecstatic joy, that bliss state, that compassion, the love, the peace, the inspiration, the passion for life. Because if we do not allow ourselves to grieve, our life gets numbed down. Everything around us gets gray. So imagine a world where you and we actually knew how to navigate through grief. We actually were willing to move through grief in an authentic and honest way. What does that mean for you in your own life? If you allow yourself to feel the grief that you have been running away from, maybe for years, for months, for days, what would your life look like at the other side of the tunnel? If you're someone like me who has moved forward with grief for years now, I've been moving through these feelings for over a decade now, and if you understand the grief journey, you understand that it is not a linear journey, but it is a spiraling journey. What do I mean with that? The pain and the suffering that arises within the loss of a loved one, in my example, my mother, who passed away very early in her life, is still here. The grief and the pain that happened 15 years ago still activates and triggers something within me. The difference is that nowadays, when these triggers arise, I can allow myself to more gracefully navigate through the feelings and emotions that happen through that trigger. For years, I was in denial of what was happening within my life, within my family situation, and I did not allow myself to feel it all because I did not feel safe, and no one ever told me how to allow these great feelings to be felt in a good way. I was terrified by the feelings. Now, after grieving a lot and feeling more joy, feeling more passion, feeling more love within my life, I can also confidently say that every time after we choose to move through the threshold and feel the feelings through grief, on the other side there is more space for love, the divine love, to be experienced and felt within our lives. It's a spiraling journey, so that means that grief does not have an end goal, and grief somehow never ends. But what changes is that the more that we go through these rites of initiation, of feeling the grief, facing the grief, eye to eye, heart to heart, the more integrated it can be within our lives, the more it becomes our daily life. The more we can surrender and trust and have faith that on the other side of this great feeling of pain, we will still be alive. Maybe you have found yourself that a loved one of yours has died years ago, and you still feel a sense of grief that arises when you think of that loved one, when you are in presence of that loved one, or the absence of that loved one. And maybe you feel confused because of that feeling, because society tells you that time heals all wounds, and that you will stop grieving at some point eventually, right? I'm here to tell you that time does not heal all wounds, and that grieving is a spiraling journey and it's non-linear. That means that wherever you are The feelings that you're feeling are allowed to be here. They're allowed to be felt by you, because only you can feel the feelings that need to be felt. And there's a great wisdom in your feelings that want to arise. So how do we start our journey of grieving, or continue our journey of grieving? First of all, we have to make that choice, that conscious choice of that I want to have a more purposeful life. I want to have more passion integrated within my life. I want to have more love integrated within my life. Second of all, we have to become very honest and authentic to what is alive within our own inner universe in order for us to allow ourselves to feel. Third of all, we need to have the trust and faith that whatever is arising, we can handle it. That means that not all of the feelings will come in at once, because it would overwhelm and fry our whole nervous system. But we have to have this faith and this trust and this understanding that in co-creation with our higher selves, we can handle the feelings that arise. And the more we can reprogram our nervous system through walking the way, through actually feeling it all and coming out on the other side and knowing and feeling and experiencing that we are still alive, that's when we can open ourselves up to deepen into a new layer of initiation. So our heart spirals open, one rose petal after another, and with every rose petal that opens itself up, there's a new layer of grief, of pain, of suffering that wants to arise, that wants to be felt, that wants to be reintegrated as its whole self within your heart and beingness. Okay? You can do this with journaling, for example, with meditation, with being really present with your heart and being honest and authentic with what is here arising. You don't have to share it with anyone if you feel uncomfortable with that. It's more you and your relationship, your communication with your heart. Then you can explore and open yourself up if you want to actually reach out and share what you're going through, share your feelings with someone else that you trust, so that whenever we can share our grief, our pain, what is within us with someone else, it actually is a very holy and it's a very wholesome and unique moment. However, this is a step that you must take from your heart when you feel the authentic push for you to actually go deeper and take that next step. And this requires a deep, authentic communion with your heart first. From there, you can actually get out and look for support from outside resources. I just want to leave you with this. You have to understand, beautiful one, that your grieving journey is sacred, fully sacred, and you get to honor the sacredness of your healing journey. Imagine that world where everyone can maturely walk through their own grieving journey. We are here to support one another, but we must first be in that sober sovereignty where we can maturely navigate through the vastness of our feelings. The grieving journey is something that will unfold itself over years and decades. It is not something that you can just stop after a certain period of time. Allow yourself to be the vessel for the feelings to move through you so that you can create the space for the holy grace of Sophia God to actually bless you, to actually touch you, to actually baptize you on all levels of your being. Imagine a world where we can openly grieve once again, where we are not ashamed of our feelings, where we do not feel guilty, where we do not feel scared or uncomfortable of sharing that we are grieving. What would that change? It would not only change your relationship with life and with your loved ones, it would also honor our loved ones who crossed over. It would honor our ancestors, and it would honor our life and the moment that we choose to actually leave life. Because we are always on the edge of life and death. In every present moment, there is an edge where we are standing on. The grace of Sophia God is allowing us to actually be alive, and the same grace of Sophia God is supporting us in actually dying at some point in our lives. And the closer we can allow these two frequencies, seeming opposites but the same, to be present, to be here, the more we can honor it within our own lives and the lives of our ancestors, of our loved ones who crossed over, of society, of humanity. Imagine how we would be living our lives, how we would honor the future generations and the past generations. What would change? What would shift? I invite you to be honest with yourself. Where are you in your grieving journey? How much are you judging yourself of where you are in your grieving journey? How much shame, how much guilt, how much anger or sadness do you feel within your grieving journey? Do you feel lonely? Know that you're not alone. We are just living in a grief-illiterate society where we have not learned how to grieve. Therefore, the vast majority of humanity is either not grieving or grieving silently. Feel free to reach out to me, to anyone else you feel safe to reach out to. It starts with the authenticity and honest conversation with your heart. Know that you're loved. Namaste.